Hello and welcome to Chemistry. Introduction to Chemistry Honors class, which is offered in grade 11. Agenda. The topics that will be covered in this chapter is why study chemistry, what's ozone layer, what's the ozone formation, and the chlorofluorocarbons. In this section, we're going to be looking at why study chemistry. So, chemistry is one of the base sciences where we study about all the stuff that is in the universe, from stars to the buildings to the atmosphere of Earth. And whenever you look at sun and you see a lot of nuclear reactions, understanding what is happening and the presence of hydrogen, helium, and nuclear reactions all happening in sun, or you're bewildered about what makes Earth's atmosphere, what are the gases present if you look at oxygen, be it hydrogen or carbon. We all know that we breathe in oxygen, so we are aware that this is one of the elements in the periodic table, which is represented by symbol O. We also are aware about hydrogen, which we represent by symbol H. Hydrogen is the most lightweight metal in the universe and it's number one in the periodic table. As we know, the periodic table is an arrangement where elements are arranged in the increasing order of their atomic mass. So the lightest being hydrogen, so that's why it's the first element. We also have oxygen, we also have carbon. As you know that we breathe in oxygen, whereas the plants breathe in carbon dioxide and they give oxygen to us. So we've already studied about that, so we know a lot of things about chemistry. And now we'll next be looking at what is ozone layer, how ozone layer protects us. In this section, we're going to be looking at the ozone layer. We have all heard of sunburns. When we are playing outside in the sun, then the UV radiations can affect us. Hence, we also apply the sunscreen lotions. And what protects us from the UV radiations? If you look at that, it's because of something in the Earth's atmosphere, which is called the ozone layer. So let's understand the different layers in the Earth's atmosphere. We have exosphere, thermosphere, mesosphere, stratosphere, and the troposphere. These are the different layers in Earth's atmosphere. And ozone, which is made up of oxygen, is a substance in the atmosphere that absorbs most of the harmful radiations and prevents it from reaching the Earth's surface. A substance which is also a chemical that is definite and uniform composition. About 90% of Earth's ozone is spread out in a layer that surrounds and protects our planet. It's like a protective layer or a shield around our planet. If there is holes in the ozone layer, that's what where the UV radiations come out unfiltered, and that's what causes skin cancer. So we have a lower layer in the earth which is called troposphere, which is present here out on just outside this earth's surface, and that's where we have the air to breathe, and also we see that the clouds are occurring there or the aeroplanes flying. These are in the troposphere area, and it extends to about 10 to 15 kilometers above the Earth's surface. And the ozone layer that protects Earth is located in something called the stratosphere. That's where the ozone layer is present. Understanding the ozone formation. When oxygen gas, which is always represented by O2, because two molecules of oxygen atom always combine together forming O2. But when it's exposed to ultraviolet radiations, then the upper region of the two smaller oxygen particles, the energy of radiation breaks the oxygen gas into individual oxygen particles which then interact with O2 to form O3. So three molecules of oxygen, when they are combined, that's what is called ozone. And it can happen only when it absorbs radiation and breaks apart to form what is called oxygen gas. This leads to balance between oxygen gas and ozone levels in the stratosphere. Oxygen has first been identified in 1800s itself. So that's a long time ago. And scientists have been studying how ozone layer forms in the equator, and the equator is where the highest heat is there, so that's where the radiations are also the highest, and hence the ozone oxygen 3 atoms are formed, and this makes convenient marker to follow the airflow in the stratosphere. So in stratosphere is where ozone is formed, and this was discovered by a British scientist, and his name is M.B. Dobson. He was from 1889 to 1976. He began measuring how much ozone is in the atmosphere. So he studied this and he found that, oh, it's in the stratosphere where ozone or oxygen 3 atoms are formed, and that's where chlorofluorocarbons. As the name suggests, it's made up of chlorine, which is Cl, and fluoro, which is fluorine and carbon atoms. So these are used in refrigerator for cooling as coolants. Why? Because previously, earlier, when refrigerator was invented, they used to have ammonia as a coolant, and that was not a good chemical, it's a toxic. So they were searching for non-toxic, non-flammable and non-reactive element. So that's how that led to the invention of the new coolants, which are chlorofluorocarbons. So this was discovered in 1973. Chlorine was discovered to be catalytic agent in ozone destruction, and it was realized that chlorofluorocarbons are potentially damaging the ozone layer. However, conclusive evidence of stratosphere ozone was not discovered until 1984. Then later in the Antarctic, in March 1985, prompted scientific inventions to discover ozone depletion process, along with calls to freeze and diminish production of chlorinated fluorocarbons. In 1996, CFC production and use was banned. Nowadays, fridges are using aerosols, are marked as ozone friendly or CFC free to show that they no longer use CFCs, which are already in the upper atmosphere, still carried on depleting ozone for 20 years after the ban was in place. In 2018, satellite images showed that the hole had begun to close, and it happened that the damage done to ozone lower layer has been completely healed by 2060.